Our next guest, second time around, Megan Taylor from Taylor HR Group LLC. Welcome, Megan.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Jeff.
Thanks. I know we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and I'm a big fan of preventative medicine and good health care. This is a good time of year to talk about what I would consider to be how to make sure that you don't have to do crisis PR. And before we get into that, why don't we just give our listeners another sort of introduction to what you do.
Well, I'm an HR consultant. I'm also an attorney, and I help small companies set up HR policies, procedures, frameworks, and then help them stay compliant and also work with their employees to be an employer of choice, to make sure they're providing as benefits and a culture that works for them. And then I also assist employers when or if the situation doesn't go well and they need to deal with a performance issue or the like.
Well, so you are a little bit of preventive medicine, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Right. And is it hard educating entrepreneurs to the benefits of what you're trying to help them with?
I think it can be. They want to focus on running their business and they don't necessarily want to put into place policies in advance, but I find that if they have something go in a way that it shouldn't, then they are more amenable because they see the value of what prevention can do. And so, and also for the right business owner, they want to focus on their widget, running their business, and they know they're not an expert in this area. So for those clients in particular, it's an easier sell to get them to be more preventative.
We were going to talk today about data and documents in that protection area, correct?
Right. I think this is an area of exposure for any business of any size. And so it's something that people often don't think about until there's an issue. And again, this is something that people can really benefit from putting some thought into what their policies and procedures are and being secure. I mean, we all hear about large organizations that get hit with cyber attacks, unfortunately, fairly regularly now, but it can happen to a small company as well. And it doesn't have to be some nefarious power somewhere else. It can be a temp who has a temporary email address at your company, and he, for some reason, thinks it's a great idea to open a wedding invitation from someone he's never heard of before, and is now temporary work email, and suddenly he gets the black box of death on the screen, and he's done some damage to the system. You think it's a harmless Hallmark card or a wedding invitation and you're not thinking, but people need to be regularly trained on these issues, and they have to have policies in place to make sure people understand what the risks are and why they should really take caution. And it's not just the exposure to the business from an operational standpoint, but there is liability as well. If you have, if you're in a state where there is a requirement that you keep, for example, personally identifying information securely, like there is in Massachusetts, all businesses who have that kind of data need to have a WIS, which is a written information security plan that talks about how they keep their information encrypted and secure. If you have a breach, even one item, one document, you have in some cases obligations to report that to the Attorney General and to take certain steps to protect that person whose data is now, or information rather, is now out in the ether. So, it's not just from an internal operational standpoint and potentially damages that you might suffer, but also compliance issues with privacy and other kinds of regulations that require you to keep this information secure.